welcome to the Sunday morning service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Lake Norman. All are welcome here regardless of gender, race, sexual orientation, economic status, or ability. We follow different paths to find our truth, but we are committed to the belief in the inherent worth and dignity of the human being. And we seek to do acts of compassion and empathy and attain justice for all. I'd like to read a few words for you today before lighting our chalice. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard. The path is never clear. The stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone. We have our candle in our chalice. It represents our search for illumination, for truth. And in our search for truth, we hope to be just. And in our search for justice, we hope to be loving. Now today, our Reverend Pat is going to be speaking to us about understanding and whether that is a false idol. And we'll have a little bit of music from Mike Alec, followed by a little discussion of our events and how you can be a member or find more information about being a member. And you are always welcome.
I have a sermon prepared for today, but I want to give a couple of shout outs before I start. First of all, to Natalie for helping the Davidson Village Network raise money through the Giving Tree Project. Awesome job, Natalie. Thank you for urging us all to give. Also want to thank Jim and Claudia and Alan and Dick Heidenberg, everybody who's involved in the Heart of the Carolinas UU Animal Ministry. Fantastic work. And then to our leadership, we're getting ready to have a change of leadership. Nicole is leaving the presidency and Lynn is leaving the at-large position on the board. Thanks to both of you for all you've done. Really awesome leadership, got us in great shape. We're moving forward. And of course, Autumn Weathers is doing a super job as our spiritual educator, our religious educator. We're so grateful to Autumn for the effort that she's making. And encourage anybody who's listening, if you have children, grandchildren, find Autumn on our website and connect with her, and let's get more kids involved in religious education. Very important stuff. But really, to anybody who's listening, the slightest act of kindness, the slightest act of compassion, giving, all of it matters so much. And I look forward to seeing everybody at the annual meeting after today's service. We need a quorum, so please show up if you possibly can, especially if you're on the membership roll. I love mulling the question of understanding, thinking about it, dealing with it. You are old, Father William, the young man said, and your hair, it has grown very white. And yet you continually stand on your head. At your age, do you think it's quite right? In my youth, Father William replied to his son, I feared it might injure the brain. But now that I'm certain that I have none, I do it again and again. So we're thinking about the brain today. We're thinking about thoughts. We're thinking about understanding. One of the terrors of our modern world, one of the terrors that comes upon us slowly and without warning, is the loss of memory. Both my parents suffered from it, which is not a laughing matter, but there were two funny incidents that helped soften the pain of such lovely people losing their memories. The first is that when my mother was checked into a long-term care facility because of her dementia, She was asked who the President of the United States is. And she said, I don't know, but I know we don't like him. Now, I'm not going to be political, so I won't mention what year that was, but it was quite a long time ago. My mother's dementia became so severe that all that was left of her in the end was her ability to smile, to wink, to sort of flirt with whoever was in the room and let them know that she still cared, she still loved whoever she was dealing with, whether they were changing a light bulb in her room or one of her grandchildren showing up. My father's moment of humor came each time he would acknowledge memory loss. He would say to me, I'm really struggling to remember things. And I would say to him, do you remember that $20 that I lent you? He would say, I do have a bad memory, but I don't think I would have forgotten that. Today's topic is understanding, not memory. Yet, how can we understand ourselves and the world around us when our memories start to fade? I know that we are encouraged to work crossword puzzles, play word games, play memory games, and make lists. I also hear that physical exercise works well to augment our keeping the lights burning as brightly as possible. But I'm afraid intellectual understanding, complex knowledge, a true grasp of reality is, in fact, highly overrated. We are really talking about two different kinds of understanding today, so let's have at it. Scientific, mechanical kinds of understanding are fascinating and fun up to a point. But when we try to add in wisdom, functional kinds of processes that might truly address the great challenges of modern life, the wheels start to come off the wagon. Dealing with so much of modern life causes us to worry. Worry is good for nothing. I have a dear friend who says worrying is like sitting on the front porch in a rocker and expecting to get to town. I'm afraid the application of scientific, mechanical kinds of understanding has its limits in much the same way that worry has its limits. The challenge is not that science and mechanics don't work. They do. They almost always do. But their application is often stonewalled by people who believe in cultural and religious tomfoolery that contends the earth is flat, the common coronavirus is a myth, and Barack Obama was a Muslim. Understanding becomes a daunting undertaking if it is too daunting, we throw up our hands in dismay. I don't understand is a great catchphrase for frustration, dismay, anger, fear, and judgment. When you first learned about this sermon, you heard it would be about understanding as idolatry, a false god, a way of trying to capture enough knowledge and wisdom to be operational in a crazy world. Many of us wisely pull back from the hope of understanding how things really work, and we simply ride the tide. Gabe and I have a dear friend who says, I'm just along for the ride. She understands that she ain't never gonna understand well enough to have the whole thing figured out. She's most grateful to have found a seat on the bus. Now that's the first kind of understanding. And if it feels impossible from time to time, don't worry about it. Just be glad you found a seat on the bus. Be along for the ride. Or not. Frustration and anger are also perfectly legitimate ways to get through life. I once told a parishioner that the Buddha never got angry. She said he didn't have children. But here is the second kind of understanding we need to consider today, and it is a much more delicate maneuver. It is the threading of maybe life's most important needle. This understanding is synonymous with empathy, compassion, decent listening, kindness, clarity, and generosity. This understanding is also about connection. Yes, that happens to be one of my most favorite words, connection. And I'm going to tarry over it for just a few minutes. Although this is certainly not universally true, it is mostly true that parents connect with their children. One of my 4 sons was recently diagnosed with COVID-19. He's going to be fine, but he may have weeks of fatigue, loss of smell and taste, and other residual hardships. For me to deal with this without being able to visit him or his wife, or most importantly, my granddaughters, is like having a giant fist squeezing my chest and compressing my internal organs. I feel very close to all my children and grandchildren, but there is a special bond with this hilarious knucklehead, and it has taught me a great deal about understanding family members who are dealing with illnesses among their own family members. The experience of wrestling an alligator is entirely different from the experience of watching somebody wrestle an alligator. Connection is about closeness, hearing what is being said, taking time to process emotions and facts, and letting a situation simmer before jumping to conclusions. It's also about being careful. One of my favorite high school teachers encouraged us to think long and deeply before saying something harsh or unkind or attacking to another human being. He said, once words are spoken, they can never be retrieved. Once they are out in the air, they stay there forever. It was a powerful and meaningful warning, and I do wish I had always heeded it. I have spoken harsh words, and they rarely did any good. They were mostly there to inflate my own overrated ego. Understanding, on the other hand, would have kept those harsh words out of the air and my ego in check. Longfellow wrote, "If we could read the secret histories of our enemies, we could find suffering and sorrow enough to disarm all hostilities." If we could read the secret histories of our enemies, we could find suffering and sorrow enough to disarm all hostilities. That's understanding. That's empathy. That's listening for the deepest wells to find what is at the heart of conflict, pain, anger, and frustration in another person. Imagine a world in which we have disarmed all hostilities. Is such a world even possible? We think not. And when we think not, we give up a little hope, a little optimism, a little belief in possibility. But maybe we can hang on to enough to keep the flame alive. That's why we light a chalice every Sunday. We're keeping the flame alive. Maybe we can dare to love in kind and understanding ways that create moments that disarm all hostilities. Moments of beauty and calm and faith in such a turbulent world, such a stressed and anxious time. Here are the words of Winnie the Pooh to Piglet that can be found on posters and Facebook posts all over the world. He said, "You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. But the most important thing is, even if we're apart, I will always be with you." I could be overstating and emphasizing the point longer and stronger than need be, but the connection implied in that gorgeous quote from Winnie the Pooh is the essence of relational understanding. We all contain energizing and enlivening pieces of everyone who has ever touched our lives at all times. Some of our brains have forgotten, but our hearts never do. As you listen to me today, Aunt Rose Moss lives in my heart. She was the most adoring, unconditionally loving, laughing, and storytelling agent of my childhood. My parents lived with her during the first 2 years of my life. And early on in my infancy, she lifted me from the baby bed and told the other caregivers around, "This baby is never to be left crying." We are always parts of each other, a network of connecting strands that can and often do augment understanding. How hard can it be to just listen, give, smile? Even in a time of social distancing, we can collapse the social distances between us with understanding, listening, gentleness, and generosity. Sometimes that is as simple as a phone call or a card dropped in the mail. The simplest acts of connection are at the heart of congregational life. This is why we are part of our congregations. This is why we gather. We may think we failed to change the world for the better, but imagine a world without us. Regina Burkett shared with me the words to a Moody Blues song called The Challenge, and I will close with these words. When he was in anger, or knew hurt, or felt fear, it was because he was not understanding.
Morning, everyone. Happy Hanukkah. Happy holidays. There's a little holiday song I wrote. Knee deep in the snow, take your cares, let them go. You light the fire, you make it bright. The greatest gift, it's you tonight. Just above the world to see, stars shine bright for you and me. The wonder and the mystery, the miracle of love. Listen to children sing, open up and let it ring. Hearts are pure, their song is true. The gift of love awaits for you. Just above the world to see, stars shine bright for you and me. The wonder and the mystery, the miracle of love. Snow falls, hearts rise, stars shine in your eyes. The wonder and the mystery, the miracle of love. Knee deep in the snow, time of year I think you know. You light the fire, you make it bright. The greatest gift, it's you tonight. Just above the world to see, stars shine bright for you and me. The wonder and the mystery, the miracle of love. Take care, everyone.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the service today and you'll be back again to visit us. Pat, Jobe, our Reverend, thank you so much for your words. And also Mike Alec, thank you again for bringing us a little music. Now, if you look down at the bottom of your screen and you're interested in finding more about our activities and how to be a member and maybe to join us in some acts of civil compassion, you may contact Linda Heidenberg And if you'd like to find out more, please go to our website. You can be put on a mailing list for our programs and events. So I wish you all a very nice weekend and that you may go in peace.